Good afternoon, my Real News Midday TV family. Welcome back to the channel for another news update for March 21, 2024. And in the news this afternoon, House Speaker's continuation up to her and her husband. Despite his concerns that the leadership of two of the three branches of Jamaica's government is in one household, Opposition Leader Mark Golding says it is up to House Speaker Juliet Holness and her husband, Prime Minister Andrew Holness, to decide if she should step down. For her to step aside is really up to her and her husband, he said, adding, however, that it will be best if we had a speaker who one could say is independent of the government. Golding made the argument during a press briefing at his office in St. Andrew last evening, hours after the Prime Minister led a walkout of the government MPs on the opposition leader's contribution to the 2024-2025 budget debate. Golding had claimed that Mrs. Holness, being Speaker of the House, does not sit well with the tradition that the Speaker must act independently of the government of the day. He also asserted that the Prime Minister left the chamber to avoid hearing criticisms about the lack of certification of his income and assets and a request for him to take away himself. What I believed happened was that when the speech was shared in Parliament and the Prime Minister saw the points that were coming after the point I was making, he decided to take this action because he didn't want me to have the opportunity of making those points in Parliament in front of him, he said. Gordon House issued the speech, and it showed that Golding was going on to criticize Holness for imposing a gag order on his members from talking about the Integrity Commission's investigation into alleged illicit enrichment into 6 MPs. It is not clear on which political side those 6 MPs sit. Golding was also going to speak on the non-certification of the Prime Minister's income and assets and income by the Integrity Commission. Holness said last month that the Commission had sought more information from him about his declarations. It is untenable for the head of government of Jamaica not to be in good standing with the country's Integrity Commission. All I can say is that if I were in your position, I would take away myself and hand over to someone else who isn't compromised, stated the speech issued by Gordon House. The walkout left the Parliament without a quorum and derailed Golding's presentation on the proposed budget for the 2024-2025 financial year that starts on April 1. Holness shouted, low and desperate, before leaving the chamber. I did not say anything offensive. I wasn't rude, Golding told the journalist, adding that it was a terrible error by Holness to walk out of Parliament because when has a government ever walked out of its own Parliament? When it has a majority, it's absurd. In the meantime, while the opposition supported Mrs. Holness's nomination as Speaker last September, Golding is now arguing that his side was not consulted before the moment of election, and further, the clerk gave a script to Leader of Opposition Business in the House, Philip Polwell, on the basis that it was tradition for the Speaker to get bipartisan support. However, pointing to new rulings on handling of anti-corruption reports, he said her performance has given rise to concerns. I made a point of principle that it doesn't sit well with the tradition in our parliamentary system, which requires the Speaker of the House to be independent of the government, for the wife of the Prime Minister, who is the head of government, to be the Speaker, which is effectively the head of Parliament. These concerns are not just my concerns. Many Jamaicans feel that way. In fact, the international community also has concerns about it, and indeed the Prime Minister, who is an emotional fit, stood up and walked out, really himself reinforced the validity of the point. Golding completed his budget address on Duke Street in front of the older parliamentary building. Speaker Holness started the sitting, but Deputy Speaker Heward Clark was presiding when the controversy erupted. Police officer denies Mark Collymore cooperated in wife's murder probe. A police officer who initially questioned Mark Collymore on Wednesday dismissed a suggestion from defense counsel that the accused cooperated with the police in the investigation into the murder of his wife, Simone Campbell Collymore. The 32-year-old businesswoman and her taxi driver Winston Walters, 36, were shot and killed outside the gate of her Forest Ridge apartment in Red Hill, St. Andrew by 2 men. Mr. Collymore, Dwayne Pink, Shaquille Edwards, and Michael Adams have been on trial since February 12 for the January 2, 2018 double murder. During cross-examination, Mr. Collimore's attorney, Dan Jobson, asked the deputy superintendent if Mr. Collimore was always cooperating with the police in the investigation. The witness replied no. Prior to cross-examination, it was disclosed during evidence-in-chief marshaled by the prosecution that the police witness instructed Mr. Collimore, in the presence of his attorney at the time, not to leave the island, as he could be needed at any time for a further interview. The witness told the court that his attorney told her that she should call him and he would take Mr. Collimore in for questioning. But on February 7, 2018, when the witness contacted the attorney, Mr. Collimore was not taken in for questioning. He was subsequently placed on the wanted list. The police explained that on February 8, police teams were sent to Manchester to pick up Mr. Collimore. The court was told that Mr. Collimore was arrested at a guest house in Junction, St. Elizabeth, and taken to the Mandeville police station. In the meantime, Simone's parents and the best friend, who were clad in royal blue, celebrated her birthday on Wednesday. Simone would have been 39 years old. The trial has been adjourned until April 8. Alleged scammer reportedly dies before trial. Girlfriend is still facing charges. The case of the Trelawney couple, who were arrested on lottery scamming charges in May 2023, has been set for April 16 in the St. James Parish Court following the reported death of one of the defendants. Roque Johnson, a bartender of a Water Lane Zion Hill address in Trelawney, had her bail extended by presiding parish judge Sasha Mary Smith Ashley on Tuesday after the court was advised that the other defendant, Johnson's boyfriend, Tajay Douglas, is dead. It was disclosed that a scene of crime report was done in respect to Douglas's death, but that the communication forensic and the cybercrime division report is still outstanding. It was not revealed how or when Douglas died. The file is not yet ready, and there are some other administrative things that need to be done. If you intended to get a lawyer, you need to work on that, Judge Ashley advised Johnson before extending her bail to April 16. According to a report provided by the Corporate Communications Unit on May 29, 2023, between 1 p.m. and 6 p.m., Douglas and Johnson visited the Norman Manley International Airport in Kingston to collect a package from a courier. However, anomalies were detected by customs agents shortly after. The package was searched and more than 20 credit cards were allegedly found hidden inside the cellular phones and the calculators. When questioned, the couple could not account for the cards. After an interview, police officers from St. James and Trelawney, alongside personnel from the Jamaica Customs Agency, conducted a secondary search of the couple's Water Lane home in Trelawney, where an on-site analysis was done on 2 cellular phones. They were found to be populated with identity and banking information of persons residing overseas. Johnson and Douglas were arrested and subsequently charged with possession of identity information, distributing identity information, possession of access device, trafficking in access device, and causing money to be transported to Jamaica illegally.